What's going on, everybody? It is Ryan Heath with Fantasy Points here, and welcome back to Data Points. This is the show where I walk you through exactly how to win at DFS, how to win at your prop betting, and your seasonal fantasy football leagues. And I'm going to do all that as usual by using the Fantasy Points data suite. So let's get right into it. What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
For data point number one, we are going to start out by talking about the Cleveland Browns and this quarterback situation. Deshaun Watson out for the season. Jameis Winston named the starter against the Ravens this weekend. So let's take a look at the matchup. We are in this weekly pass rate over expectation report. This is showing us how pass heavy offenses have been against every defense, controlling basically for the situation, for the game script. It just tells you how much an offense wants to be throwing the ball against each defense, right? So we can see the Ravens here are up at the top. They have allowed the second highest pass rate over expectation this season, positive 5.6%. That means that the Ravens are one of the league's biggest pass funnels. Teams are generally wanting to throw the ball against them. In their case, it's because their run defense is really tough. So we can expect Jameis Winston and the Browns to be dropping back a lot. And we can support that even further by switching over to the offense view here. Once this loads up, we're going to see where the Browns offense ranks in terms of pass rate over expectation. Here they are. They're the sixth highest. So this season, even with as bad as Deshaun Watson has been, the Browns have been the sixth pass heaviest team in a vacuum. So again, this is great news for anyone who wants to play Jameis Winston in their lineups or in DFS this week. Let's dive a little bit deeper, right? So here we are in the advanced receiving defense table, just showing each team's receiving stats that have been generated against them. As you can see, the Ravens have allowed the most receiving yards per game in the NFL this year, 308.4. We can also go ahead and control for depth of target. So what I just did was I popped in that filter to make it so we're only going to see stats where the depth of target was over 20 yards. The QB tried to throw it more than 20 yards downfield in the air. And we can see, even with this filter, the Ravens still have allowed the second most receiving yards per game on deep targets. That's very important, especially for something like DFS, where we're going for those ceiling outcomes. We need those big plays. The Ravens have been susceptible to it so far. And then finally, I just want to talk about the offensive line matchup. So here we are in our offensive line, defensive line matchup tool, and we can go ahead and scroll down until we find the Browns. And oh no, you say, they have the fourth worst pass grade of any team this week. Look at all this pressure they're letting up. If we sort by pressure rate, the Browns have allowed the highest pressure rate in the NFL this season. But before you say, oh no, we can't play Jameis Winston, just think for a second. Deshaun Watson has had one of the longest times to throw in the NFL this season. All that guy did was hold the ball until he got sacked, pretty much. That was, if you've been watching the Browns at all, I'm sorry, but also that's kind of what's been happening. And we can see that in the data as well. If we move over here into the advanced passing window here, we can, so I've sorted by time to throw. This is ascending. So Jameis Winston, 2.46 second average time to throw this season. That's really on just his one drive from week 7. But we got to come all the way down here to find Deshaun Watson, a 2.76 second average time to throw this year. That is faster than only 6 other quarterbacks. We can also get a bit of a larger sample for Jameis Winston if we just want to see, for example, when he was with the Saints in 2022, when he started a few games, we can take a look and see what his time to throw was in that season. So as soon as it pops up here, we're going to see, okay, his time to throw in that season, 2.43 seconds. So yeah, Jameis Winston, at least recently, has been getting the ball out fairly quickly. And that is going to make sort of the offensive line matchup, the pressure, less of a big deal, right? Because if we just look at the Ravens in a vacuum, if we sort by pressure rate over expectation, for example, which does control for time to throw, we can see they're below average in terms of generating pressure. So I am good with Jameis Winston this week. I want to be playing him. I think this game has shootout potential. I am all over it. I don't really have any red flags at all. All right. Data point number 2. I am so sorry, but we are going to talk about Cade Otton this week. So 10 targets, 100 receiving yards the other night. Obviously, rip Chris Godwin and all that. Very unfortunate, very hard to watch on the field. But it does set Cade Otton up very, very well this week. So we are in our defensive coverage matrix here. What we're looking at is just the rates of man coverage, of zone coverage, single high, and what have you that every defense has played this season. So I've sorted by zone. As a reminder, the Buccaneers are playing the Falcons this weekend. You can see the Falcons have played the 4th most zone coverage in the NFL. Over 75% of the time when they're dropping back, the Falcons are in zone. We can also check to see if they've done it consistently. So this is maybe a little bit more of an advanced thing that I check when I go through and am writing my article every week. But what I've done here is I've made a split by week, and I've just typed in Falcons so that we're going to see the Falcons, each of their games in a row here. I've just sorted by week. But yeah, we can see that in all but 1 week, the Falcons have played zone coverage over 70% of the time. So they're fairly consistent with that tendency, which is what tells us, okay, maybe this is a schematic matchup that we actually want to target, that we can feel good about being stable. But I should just show you, now that we've established the Falcons are going to play a lot of zone, what does Cade Otton do against zone, Ryan? I'm so glad you asked. So I have already punched this in here, but we're back in advanced receiving. You've got to scroll down a ways to get to defense in the filters here. Coverage scheme, zone, apply. This shows you how each Buccaneers receiver that I've searched up here has performed against zone this season. And you can see Cade Otton at 20.4% target share against zone coverage, 26% targets per out run. He's getting targeted fairly often against zone. But you say, okay, we should compare this to man coverage, right? For example. So swap that to man. We can hit apply and we can see now. So now remember, Cade Otton, 20% target share against zone coverage. Against man, only an 8.3% target share. Target per out run down to 9%. Cade Otton, like a lot of tight ends, admittedly, are going to be feasting against zone. And that's good for him in this case, in this matchup against the Falcons. All right, data point number 3. There are a lot of running backs I am excited to play on this DFS slate. There's a lot of value. It's very deep at the position, at least early in the week. Things can always change, but that's how I'm seeing it right now. So we're back in our pass rate over expectation report. And the reason for that, I've reverse sorted here. So we see the defenses that have allowed the most running against them, that have been the biggest run funnels this year. We can see the Colts are the biggest run funnel defense in the NFL. That's good news for Joe Mixon. And I'll tell you what else is good news for Joe Mixon. Here in the offense version of the pass rate over expectation report, I've gone ahead and selected the 3 weeks that Joe Mixon has been fully healthy. So he played the whole game in week 1. In week 2, he got knocked out early. So we've removed that from the sample. Didn't play weeks 3 through 5. And then he's played the last 2 weeks. And we can see the Texans have actually been a top 10 run heavy team in the games that Joe Mixon has played and been healthy. That's a little bit surprising. I am not sure that that's what I would do if I had CJ Stroud, but that's what Bobby Slovic seems to be into, is feeding Joe Mixon as much as he possibly can, right? So we can see this even in the overall run pass report, which you can get to in the offense section here, the run pass report. So I've gone ahead and put in the same weeks. So we're just looking at the 3 weeks where Joe Mixon was fully healthy. Overall rush rate, so unadjusted for all the pass rate over expectation and situation stuff, just overall rush rate, The Texans top 5 in the league in these weeks where Joe Mixon has been healthy. We can also look inside the red zone in DFS, very important to understand which pieces of an offense have that touchdown equity. We sort by rush percentage inside the 20. The Texans top 5 or top 4 in rush percentage inside the red zone when Joe Mixon is healthy. I really like Joe Mixon as a value in DFS this week. Obviously, I love him in all seasonal leagues. The guy's averaged 26.8 fantasy points per game in those 3 healthy games he's played. The workload has been amazing. So yeah, start Joe Mixon, play him in DFS. I think this is an incredible spot for him against the Colts. So that's going to do it. Those are all the data points I have for you today. And now that you've seen how powerful this Fantasy Points data suite can be, make sure you go to data.fantasypoints.com to sign up for access to the data suite for yourself. We have a standalone data suite subscription, or we have the all-in package, which will also get you access to my DFS picks and prop bets informed by stats just like the ones in this video. Good luck in week 8, everybody.